radar. Ross Dellinger, who's now a part of Yahoo Sports, was at SI for quite some time, just put out on his Twitter feed that as far as the Pac-12 and what they have coming up at the end of the week, which is their media days that begin, whatever you were expecting, if the Pac-12 will not announce a new TV deal this week, sources telling Yahoo Sports, likely extending into August, the league's year-long pursuit of a rights package, the conference holds its annual football media day Friday in Vegas. No announcement is expected. Now, I know a lot of people are going to pile on because that's what a lot of people have done, and a lot of it's just as much the misinformation or the teasing by some administrators within the Pac-12. But I can't imagine that there's going to be questions. You know that, and it'll be interesting how George Kliavkoff responds to them.
Yeah, I don't know how, it's going to be tough for him to be able to have to walk out there because he's been able to not have to have media availabilities and all this time while they've been negotiating the deal. Well, he can't avoid it on Friday. He's going to have to address it somehow. It's going to be difficult, and he's going to have to talk around it. But the can get kicked down the road again. And even if they do get a deal worked out, the question remains, how hopeful are they that the media landscape is going to change so much in the next 5 years that the next one will be better and improve for them?
Well, August is, by the way, in just over a couple of weeks. So that's not like, it's 2.5 months from now. But it is obviously yet another, it appears, based on what Ross is saying, he'll join us at 5:10, another delay on any kind of media deal announcement.
Yeah, or depending on who you ask, was it a delay? Because was there ever meant to be an announcement at media days? And I don't know what everybody would say to that, but I can promise you that if you would have told any single person, no matter how pro or anti-Pac-12 they are, that a year removed from last year's media days, they would still not have a media deal to present the following year, everybody would have said that's a failure. I don't care. If they say otherwise, I think they're lying. I think they are, because I don't see how you could have sat there a year ago from this time and said, all right, they're in line, there's this going on, that going on. I mean, you can talk all you want to about the unforeseen circumstances and, networks changing and all of that, but, I mean, to be back all the way around I saw an interview with John Wilner. He's the one that I, read probably the most often.
Yeah, from the San Jose Mercury News. Yeah, Pac-12 hotline.
Yeah, and there was an interview with him on YouTube from last year's media day, and you could play it now, and it would be exactly as relevant as it was back then. You could, and I don't know, I'd have to watch the full 10 minutes to see every single question, but I think you could play a good half chunk of that interview and just date it differently, and nobody would even know. I mean, other than maybe a comment or two about a deadline or something like that, because clearly now you fast forward a year and that whole, the deal's not coming up anytime soon. Well, now it's it's another year shed off that to where you actually need a 2024 deal. We're about to enter 2023. So, some of that language would be different. But for the most part, the messaging, I think he would have been shocked to say, hey, right now the way you're talking, a year from now, they still won't have anything at this very same event. I don't think he or anybody else, no matter how positive they are and what it eventually ends up happening or negative they are, could have sat there and said at the time, oh, yeah, no, that'd be totally cool. So I think that's crazy, but not surprising in any way, because this has basically been the story this entire time, was kick the can, kick the can, kick the can. And I'm not saying they haven't had legitimate reasons to do that. We've been very open-minded on their end. We haven't tried to pull the whole tribalism thing, at every turn we get, and death to the Pac-12 and all of that. But you got to admit, it's ridiculous. If the Big 12 was still in this position and they had kicked the can down,
we would be sweating bullets
25 times now, because, dude, that's not far off. It might actually be 25 times at this point, not even joking. Then if you add up all the president's statements and all that type of stuff, I think we'd be sitting here going, gulp. There's some big concerns in Big 12 country. Now, I'm not saying that for the Pac, but I just am amazed that we are still watching this thing unfold and that we've arrived at media days and they're still not going to have anything to present. That's crazy to me, because you would think there'd at least be something to chew on. Maybe behind the scenes they're giving the 15th update on the last hurdle that they have to clear, because the satellites were charged too much and now they had to redo those and whatever. Now what's the big thing now? It's the CW's not in the Seattle market officially, so they have to wait for a CW. Like, at some point, like, how many things pop up where you're like, it was Christmas last year and they were on vacation. That was an actual delay in the negotiations. Now it's like there's not a CW affiliate, so I don't know what to believe. I know there is a lot of BS being flung, in so many ways just for clicks and views.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think in general, like, not having a deal done by media days, even some staunch Pac-12 supporters would have to go like, okay, that's a little wonky. Like, we gotta have something better than that.
I know that John writes the Pac-12 hotline. He has a podcast. He's been writing for the San Jose Mercury News and covering the Pac-12 forever. But I have noticed, and it's maybe a good time to get him on after Pac-12 media days or even during, but I have noticed that his tone has changed to, hey, something needs to occur. Yeah, he's had the quotes from Kleofkoff, among others, but yeah, I think it turned, I don't know if it's the last couple of months or last 2 or 3 months or whatever, but you could almost sense that his impatience is there as much as anybody else.
Okay, and this is according to Stuart Mandel, who has taken a strong stance that the Pac will be just fine.
Yes, he has.
And had a very...
In fact, the negative about the Big 12.
Yeah,
a year ago, like they may not be left.
There's some tweets that people saved from
Receipts.
him talking about the Big 12. Yeah, some receipts about the Big 12 would be lucky to this and that and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I've seen those get pulled up, and he just glosses over and probably the best move. But he's a Bay Area guy, so yes, he's very much entrenched there.
And both of them have been on this show and will be in the future. Yeah. It's just that, again, sometimes things you say don't prove to be smart or it looks silly because it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about with Stewart, what he said about the Big 12.
Yeah,
Paul?
There will be no Pac-12 TV deal to announce at Friday's media day. It's at least in part because we've seen folks come to the table that were not at the table 6 months ago, a conference source told The Athletic. Now, if that's true, that's great for the Pac-12, and that could mean CW, Ion, all these other things that people were actually talking about 6 months ago. But the Pac-12 didn't want to maybe hear about. Or maybe they weren't at the actual table or however that works. But that's also what has also followed all these things is we're not going to have a TV deal, but there's a good reason for it. A little bit of positive spin on it, which at this point, I don't think that the conference needs to be doing because they're just setting their fans up for disappointment if it does go awry. I think that you just need to be boringly matter of fact.
But what if it's true? What if it's true? And I don't see why they would lie about it. Maybe kicking some of the things down the road, kicking the can, or maybe kind of push it a different. What if it actually is true? Why would you not want to say that?
I don't. Here's the thing. It's true today, but then those people could leave the table, and then what you're having to explain to your fans is, well, you told us there were more people at the table. You told us this. You told us that. And then the TV deal isn't great.
He has not really spoken about anything really with realignment in 7 months.
Yeah. So
Kleofkoff.
No. And that's why I'm saying the conference needs to just be it's boring. It's matter of fact, but that's what they need to do because they need to temper expectations because they're trying to get fans excited about something right now that doesn't even exist. And so they need to maybe stop throwing out like, there's good news on this and just say it's not done yet.
It seems like every time there is like a positive spin on what otherwise would be taken as a negative, it comes from like the same 3 places every single time. Mm-hmm. Every single time. And I like what our buddy Kendall from the website said. He said, I would not publish an anonymous source for a piece like that. I know Mandel has an actual one, but it's been a year. They should go on the record. And this is not even me as a Big 12, guy, so to speak. And it's not like I'm, pom-poms like the SEC folks or anything like that even. It's just we're in the Big 12 part of the map, and we cover one of the teams on a more regular basis. I'm not even coming at it from a negative angle. I just think, if I was a Pac-12 fan, I'd be like, George, answer some damn questions and give us some clarity on what's going on here, man. Like, rather than just say nothing, report comes out, deny report in a roundabout anonymous way, move on along until something else, and then just I would just want something firm to grasp onto. Maybe Pac-12 fans are different and they don't, and they're all just resting assured that it'll be done in the end, and maybe it will be, but not having something by media day is just kind of crazy to me, like I said a moment ago. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around that. I mean, I get it, but I feel like we've heard the whole, there's more dance partners than you thought there would be, and that's the whole holdup. And then, it was a complicated deal because Apple's never really done streaming and done linear together. Like, there's all these little things that are like,
yeah, buts.
but it's Christmas. Yeah, but it's a unique deal. Yeah, but it's just kind of it's been a long time this thing's been going on, man.
If you who are waiting as a fan of college football, a fan of the Pac-12 or a program, if you're frustrated, imagine how those in the middle of it are. And some of it might have been when some presidents or ADs have gone on record and said a couple of things and maybe teased it. And maybe they thought that what they were teasing was legitimate. Maybe they were told to say that. This is from Kleofkoff in December. The last time he spoke publicly about the Pac-12's media negotiations, this is in John Wilner's last story in the San Jose Mercury News. 225 days from December 7th to July 21st without uttering a public peep on the topic. There's no need for a rush, he said during the College Athletics Forum in Vegas. We are the last Power 5 conference with our rights available for the next 8 years. Don't really know what that's supposed to mean, that, okay, we're the only ones left so we can take our time because nobody else is trying to do that. And that's been 225 days. And maybe it's good that he hasn't said anything. Maybe it's good, but others who are a part of the conference have actually, of course, we've heard quotes, and also we have seen some of what they've said.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely some ways the Pac-12 as a whole could have gone back and maybe done some things differently. I also know that we're not owed anything, that, this is not something, a negotiation that's on our time as college football fans or media. But I still maintain that if you had told anybody involved, even Stuart Mandel or John Wilner or whoever, that they would be another year down the road media day-wise and would still be talking about the exact same subject that had not changed at all, other than there just being potentially less options and potentially more options, I guess, if like the CW is, more of a player than initially believed. But other than that, I think everybody would have had their jaw drop. No matter, even if you were like, well, this takes time and this a full year, that's kind of crazy. So, I guess just remain in patience, all you can really do. I mean, nobody's going to put a gun to anybody's head and make them announce something, but just simply, I think updating would probably be the wise move, and I'm sure we'll hear something like that from Kleofkoff. I would hope it's not just something vague like what the presidents have said, or like, oh yeah, just trust us, it's coming in any moment now. And so I would hope that you've got something a little bit better to present to your fans, because you're not just talking to you're talking to your actual Pac-12 fans on Friday. Like, those are the folks that are going to be tuning in. So I'm very curious. I was already curious to hear what that message was going to be. I'm very curious now. And I guess it just all depends on where you look, on where this thing actually is. I still maintain that they're going to get a TV deal. I still believe that it'll be reasonable enough that not much changes. I know others believe differently, but I still feel that way, and this doesn't give me any further pause, but it's just wild that we're still not going to hear anything by another media day.
Ross Dellinger again joins us today. He's the one that wrote the article for Yahoo. He'll join us at 5:10.
I actually, and I've said this before, this YouTube video that we've done out on it, I think there are three scenarios, the least likely of which, in like the less than 1% chance, is total collapse and chaos of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I think that whatever happens at the end of this, there will be a Pac-12, although clearly not what they wanted it to be when they woke up in the morning. Even if everybody stays together.
So that's one scenario.
That would have been the LA school still in the conference. Would have been the ideal scenario.
Okay. The other one is that the Pac-12 sticks together for the most part, and they lose a couple teams because even though the media deal may not be that different, they just look out ahead and say, this isn't trending in the right direction. We're going to be back here in a couple years. Let's just go now and end it so we don't sign this deal. We'll sign another deal with another league that we feel confident with. So that would be a couple teams. And I think the most likely one to happen is that, like Craig said, a deal happens and everybody stays status quo for a little while, and then we play this game again when the rights come up again.
All right, what if, in fact, what are the odds, and this is just being not devil's advocate, but I love to throw different options on the table. So one is they're fine. They figure it out without two teams, UCLA and USC, moving forward. Two is that they lose a couple of more teams because they don't like the trending. Three is that they're going to have the third one you mentioned is they stay together, but again, they're just kicking the can down the road another 3, 5, or 7 years.
Well, they add teams.
Yeah. Is there anything possible? And I'm not saying this because I've seen this floated out there. Is there anything possible that might actually be a newness or unique part of what they do that nobody else has ever done? And part of it may be because they have no other choice that actually might be smart. Shoot me, whatever.
I mean, I've taken this stance before. I've said this multiple times. I've said, how funny would it be if, in the end, they end up with a better deal? Have I not? So,
yes,
like,
you have.
I've thrown that out there to play devil's advocate a few times. And until ink's dried, that's always a possibility because we don't know. We're not in those rooms. We're not the head of Apple or the head of CW or whatever. We don't know the types of money figures that are being thrown around. I am far more pessimistic on that being the case now than I was when I first started broaching that topic, probably, starting about a year ago. But until I see otherwise, Paul, that's always a possibility. Yeah. I'm not going to say never. At the same time, though, yeah, I'm starting to like. Here's the thing with me. Like, you didn't have to, for any of our sakes, have a deal announced. Like, this is more for your schools and those who are potentially like looking around at all, which we know is at least somewhat of the case. No matter how you want to define that, and stretch the words to pretend like that's not the case. There's at least some exploring that has gone on that's undeniable. And so you do want to like steady that as best you can. Although you do feel like maybe you got a couple teams you can pivot to, right? Or you're not even worried about losing. You still got a couple teams that you're going to end up adding in the long run. If that's the case, and you're going to be totally fine, like I'm sure some Pac-12 fan somewhere is claiming right now, and very well may be true. CW is going to be great. Apple streaming, it's going to be a perfect combination. They're not going to lose anybody. They're going to add San Diego State. They're going to add SMU, and it all ends up like the best possible scenario. I still want to hear something on Friday from George Kliavkoff, easing my nerves a little bit if I'm a Pac-12 fan. Not just saying like soon, but letting me know like, hey, here's some concrete stuff to like know. Like, not necessarily, you don't even have to tell me it's Apple, but tell me the bare bones of what you can tell me that is factual, that it can at least let me know that we're on the trajectory, not some open-ended, vague, no end date, like any scenarios possible type of a statement, because that's what we basically gotten to this point. And for me to feel good about the situation, I would like to hear some substance to some of the words that he has to say. Well, what about you guys?
Yeah, no, I you think you do? What about the 10 teams that are left in the conference? Or what about San Diego State? What about perhaps others, even SMU, as they sit back and wait on what might help or be a part of their future, or yet another disappointment? So there's the story. Ross Dellinger, now with Yahoo Sports, helped us. Again, he'll be on at 5:10 to kind of even give us more on that. Now,